Have you ever felt completely and totally stuck? Like you're pushing a boulder uphill, trying to make a change, but you're just not getting anywhere? Well, what if I told you that getting unstuck isn't about pushing harder? What if it's about seeing differently? Today, let's dive into the mechanics of meaningful change and figure out how we can start seeing things in a whole new light.
To get started, let's talk about Plato's allegory of the cave. It's this incredible metaphor for how we understand our own reality. So, picture this. You've got these prisoners who have spent their entire lives chained up in a cave, only ever seeing shadows dancing on a wall. For them, the shadow of a horse is a horse. That's their whole world. But of course, outside the cave, there's a real, living, breathing horse. And here's the kicker. We're all in some way like those prisoners. We're all mistaking the shadows of our perceptions for the real thing.
I mean, think about it for a second. The Mona Lisa. Is she happy? Is that a smirk? Is she hiding some big secret? The truth is, every single person who looks at that painting sees something a little different. There is no one single objective truth to her expression. It's all about what we bring to it. And that's because every one of us is running on a totally unique perception-reaction system. How you see a situation completely dictates how you react to it. A farmer sees a storm coming and feels this wave of relief for their crops. A kid having a picnic sees that same storm and feels pure panic. Same event, two completely different realities. And this right here, this is the very reason we get stuck.
It's so true, isn't it? Our perception literally becomes our reality. Everything from our personal history, our hopes, our fears, it all acts like a filter, coloring how we interpret absolutely everything. We are constantly seeing the world through the lens of who we are. So if you really want to create change, you can't just fight reality. You have to start by understanding your perception of it. So how do we actually start charting a course for change? Well, it's pretty simple, really. The very first step in any journey is knowing exactly where you want to go. You have to define that destination before you can ever hope to get there. The philosopher Seneca just hit the nail on the head with this one, didn't he? Thousands of years ago. Without a clear goal, a specific port you're aiming for, you are just adrift at sea. All the effort and hard work in the world won't do you any good if you don't have a clear direction.
Okay, now let's talk about a really powerful tool for finding that direction. It's called the miracle question. Just imagine this with me. You go to sleep tonight, and while you're sleeping, a miracle happens. Poof! Your biggest problem is completely, totally solved. When you wake up tomorrow morning, what is the very first concrete thing you would notice that tells you, wow, the miracle happened? This question is so brilliant because it completely bypasses that emotional block of how and gets your brain laser-focused on the what.
And here's how we can turn that miracle vision into a real plan. First, you envision that future with as much detail as you can. Then, you define the real-world indicators. What does it actually look and feel like? Maybe it's more laughter in meetings. Maybe it's feeling optimistic on your commute. Then, you rate yourself. If 10 is the miracle, where are you right now? A 3? Maybe a 4. And finally, and this is the most important part, you identify the smallest possible action to move you just 1 point forward. We're not trying to get to a 10 overnight. We're just trying to get from a 4 to a 5.
All right, so we've got our destination, we know where we want to go, so why is it still so incredibly hard to get there sometimes? Well, the answer often lies in the very solutions we keep trying over and over again. Turns out, they often become the problem themselves.
You know how it is. When a problem pops up, our first instinct is to play the blame game. We ask, why did this happen? Which almost immediately turns into, whose fault is this? But there's a much more effective way, the systems approach. It replaces that question why with how does this thing work? Instead of looking for a person to blame, you start analyzing the machine, the whole process that keeps spitting out the problem.
And this brings us right to the heart of the issue, the dysfunctional solution. It's a behavior we keep doing because we think it's solving a problem, but in reality, it's just making it stronger. A perfect example is a manager who's terrified of public speaking. Their solution is to avoid giving presentations at all costs. Sure, it brings some temporary relief, but all it really does is reinforce that fear, making it even bigger and scarier for next time.
So, if our logical, rational solutions are actually the problem, how in the world do we break the cycle? Well, we need a totally different kind of thinking. We need to fight this fire with something other than more fire.
Think about it this way.
Rational, linear logic is awesome for technical problems, like fixing a car engine. But for problems that are rooted in emotion and perception, like a fear of flying or a conflict with a coworker, we need something else. We need unconventional, paradoxical logic, the kind that seems totally backwards at first, but works precisely because it short-circuits our emotional patterns.
Okay, check out this powerful example of that logic in action. I want you to ask yourself this seemingly absurd question. What could I do right now to deliberately make this problem even worse? I know, it sounds completely counterintuitive, but stick with me. This one simple exercise can instantly reveal the exact dysfunctional behaviors that are fueling the entire issue.
Let's make this real. Let's say Bob feels constantly undermined by his colleague Mike. So we ask him, Bob, how could you make this situation with Mike even worse? Well, he can start documenting every tiny mistake Mike makes, react aggressively, use sarcasm, and right there, that list he just created, that is the list of things Bob is probably already doing in some small way. By figuring out how to make it worse, he's identified exactly what he needs to stop doing.
Okay, so we've got the tools for our own personal change. But what happens when you're in charge of a team or an organization? How do you lead change for other people? How do you guide them out of their own caves?
There's a fundamental rule for any leader that's so simple but so powerful. Praise in public, correct in private. This isn't just about making people feel good. It's about making people feel safe to learn. When you praise someone's amazing idea in a team meeting, everyone in that room learns what success looks like. And when you correct a mistake one-on-one, you build trust and you give that person a chance to fix it without feeling attacked. It completely transforms feedback from a judgment into a tool for growth.
This quote from General Patton is just brilliant. It's all about trust and empowerment. Think of it like setting the miracle scenario for your whole team. You, as the leader, define the destination with crystal clarity. This is what success looks like, team. But then you empower them to build the roadmap. This creates ownership and often leads to innovative solutions you never would have thought of on your own. It's the difference between just giving orders and truly inspiring a mission.
Leading change isn't some one-time event. It's a living, breathing, collaborative process. This loop really shows the path. You define the goal together. You analyze what's been tried before together. You agree on a strategy, you monitor it, and you correct your course as a team. And finally, you reinforce what works until that new way just becomes the way things are done. It's a journey you take with people, not a decree you hand down to them.
So if there's one thing to take away from all of this, it's this. Whether you're changing yourself or leading a team through change, the process is the same. It all starts by accepting that everyone has their own shadow on the wall. Real lasting change doesn't come from fighting that perceived reality. It comes from stepping into it, understanding it, and then gently guiding from within.
So we've explored the tools, the mindsets, the strategies. We know that our perception creates our reality, and that sometimes our own attempted solutions are the very things that keep us trapped. Now the only question left is for you. The door to your cave is unlocked. What's your first step toward the life